Welcome to the Existential Couch. You might know me as Doc of Creative Disarray, but today I'm just me, Brian. And with me is my lifelong friend and co host, Wendy. But Wendy, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Wendy. You might also know me as Auntie Spoonie on social media.
Awesome. Today, I think our biggest thing is that we're here to ask if we could meet the version of ourselves that never went through the hardest thing in our lives, would we even recognize them? So, to kind of kick that off, Wendy, when you were 15, who did you think you would be?
Well, I was definitely not a disabled content creator talking into a microphone with over 150,000 people following my random thoughts. I was definitely thinking I'd probably I had high aspirations as a teenager. I thought I was going to be a lawyer or a doctor, something big. I definitely didn't see becoming disabled. Well, I was disabled, but I didn't see my disability getting to the point where I couldn't work or be successful or go to college and do all those things. So, when I was 15, I thought I'd be someone definitely very different than who I am today.
That's fair.
What about
I
you? Yeah, what about you, Brian?
Yeah, I think God, let me take it back. 15, I thought that I would definitely by this point have a few bestsellers. I think that was on the list. I think writing poetry and novels was definitely higher on the list than they have been. Also, I think like acting and voice acting and all of these creative things. I think that's where I thought I would be. The family portion and children and all that is pretty spot on. But I think my trajectory of focus career wise was a bit different and definitely more creatively inclined for sure.
That makes sense. I could definitely see that for you. I thought you were going to be all those things too when we were younger.
Well, I mean, still can be, I
You
guess, but I
can. I mean,
definitely,
think about it. Like, how many people didn't become big until their 40s or 50s, or even
yeah. What
later
is it
than
like?
that?
I think I'm what is it? The Harrison Ford one is like Carpenter until 35, and then it
Mhm.
was like Han Solo and Indiana Jones. So there's still, I mean, there's a bunch of stories like that in
Oh,
real
yeah.
life happenings where people just
I think
and I
Oprah was 40, don't quote me on that, but
yeah.
I am pretty sure she started a little bit later too. Not to, I'm not a fan of JK Rowling, but she was definitely someone who got her start later on too. She was around 30, I believe, when she made the first
Mhm.
Harry Potter book. Um, but definitely not a fan of her, to be clear.
Yeah, to be clear, not fans. Yeah, I think but I think that says something too, just about growing as a person and the idea of like, not being a full physical adult till around 25 and the life experience, like all of those different things that happen. So,
Well, and something I learned too is if you're neurodivergent, it may even be 30 for you.
oh,
Brain
maybe that's the
development,
problem.
the frontal lobe fully developing. And I know like my brain didn't start working until I was 30. Like I thought 25 was the magic number and it wasn't. I didn't get it together until 30.
Well, yeah, not even, I mean, even on the side of like how, like, I think we've talked about it before, just like trauma alone
Mhm.
of any various kind, whether, physical or spiritual, mental, verbal, all of the terrible avenues that trauma can find us in big ways, literally over time change the brain, especially in children and those with still developing
Oh,
brains.
I
So,
agree. I definitely have had that experience. I have a long history with several complex traumas and that's definitely influenced who I am today too. Are the choices that we make or the circumstances that are presented in our life, like where do we land on that? Like, do we control our own destinies or are they predetermined for us?
well, but that also kind of leads us into one of our big questions. Like, is there a moment, or what is the moment you feel that really changed everything and changed the course as you thought it would be?
I think I've definitely had several big moments. It wasn't just one moment that changed everything. Um becoming a mom at a young age, discovering I was autistic as an adult was a huge uncovering for me. The transition from being a gifted kid and the expectation to living a life with chronic illness and disability, going from trying to return to work in 2020, 2021, into becoming an unexpected creator of a large community online. I think that learning that resilience doesn't always look like pushing through, it sometimes looks like asking for help. And so there's definitely been a lot of big factors for me. And that's not even to get into my traumas because we're not going to trauma dump
Mm.
here today. Um, but those have definitely been things that shaped me and changed everything too.
Oh, for sure. And well, that's the thing. I don't think, like we just mentioned, you don't even realize, like them shaping you is also different than when you realize they shaped you, and that
Hmm.
unmasking begins and the healing begins. And I think that's still an under talked about point is it's actually harder to cope sometimes after
Yes.
you start healing. Like you're finding out, oh, this is who I really am. I don't need to be my trauma anymore.
Talk about an
Um,
existential crisis.
yeah, exactly. Like, am I even who exactly existentialism we're getting further into? Is that even who I am? No, that's just who I've had to be to survive. And now I need to discover who I am. And it's hard. I mean, joining the Navy, like I talked about freshly at 18, 9 days after graduation and all this. And it's one of those things that making the choice was very drastically different than what I expected. And I think like I knew it was a big decision, but I didn't know, running away from home and leaving the state and going across the country and then across the world. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then shortly after that, still becoming a very young parent due to
Mhm,
circumstances and going to the idea of, oh, I'm a man now. I gotta marry her and do all these things,
mhm.
which was a terrible decision because it's not a person to should have, married when you get into those things. Um, and then, even later down the line, like leaving the military is a big thing as well when
Mhm.
you start realizing like, oh, and it's never to disrespect it. Obviously, I have a very big respect for the military
Me
members,
too.
veterans, and
Absolutely.
that life. But it was also very apparent that it was no longer for me, and it wasn't where I was going to really be able to grow and do what I needed to do in the ways I needed to. But it's also scary because then I have a bigger family, and I have married to as my current lovely wife and the person I should have been married to the whole time. But that we have a family where kids from other marriages and then us and all of this and getting out and oh, what does health insurance look like outside and all these decisions. You start making these decisions
Mhm.
for those reasons, and you stop asking yourself if it's who you are. You leave who am I and the self, you kind of just leave it on the back shelf because the decisions you need to make forward are just ones you feel you have to make and are the right ones to make, so to speak, which I mean, what is right? Like that's
For sure. I mean, I can definitely relate a little bit. My marriage to a service member had a big impact on healthcare and what happened after leaving the military and all the experiences with that I went through with him. I never pictured myself being a wife and an early mother either, and, obviously, that marriage didn't work out for me either, and that's something you learn getting married young, I think. You don't know who you are, like we were saying, your brain's not even fully developed until you're 30, so you're bound to make mistakes along the way and learn lessons, and I think I wanted to segue into a post that I made the other day and a thought that I had, but it was definitely that nothing changed my life more than realizing understanding someone and excusing them are two different things. And this definitely applies to ourselves. Learning to understand my own behavior without either shaming myself or excusing everything was a big piece of the puzzle.
yeah, and I think that's kind of the trap, right? Like a lot of times you fall into one side, like you either fall
Hmm.
into the blame game or blaming yourself or blaming others. And I'm not saying the responsibility. There's obviously always responsible parties to a situation and choices and those things, but like when you're trying to go on this journey for yourself sometimes like it's so much easier to fall back into that and just be mad at yourself or mourning yourself, like in a way, like we're not dead yet, but sometimes, where the phrase of we die before our heart stop beatings in a lot of cases, like,
Oh, I think
those
so.
things go.
I've definitely had times in my life where I felt like I had died and that everything was over and that it wasn't going to get better or change or and that's when I had to like lift myself up out of that grief and pull my bootstraps up, as you did like to say, in a little bit of a non-traditional way and start fighting for a better life for myself and picturing what that could look like. And it's evolved and grief definitely isn't linear. I think
Hmm.
you're gonna grieve the person you were, the person you're becoming, everything in between, the things that have happened to you. Um, there can be a lot of complex grief, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's natural, it's human, and I think we can all relate to that.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's where I fall in the most is, um, even talking with as my wife, like sometimes, like we both know that there's a moment that we could have started together sooner. Like we can
Mhm.
both of us can look back and look at even that time and how much things could have been different, like where we could be, decisions we make because of other significant others and these things where they're not really positive. They weren't necessarily positive at the time. They're not positive for us now, but they were
Right?
decisions that we made because we thought we had to. Like that was the right decision. We're doing right by this person, even though we're not right for each other.
Mhm.
And I think that's where a lot of my mourning comes in. I think, there's a lot of stuff with, my parents and things like that where some of it's better, some of it's worse, and all these different things. But I think that's the aspect that it's easiest for me to fall into is when there is a specific point where, like, oh, I know that things could have been different. So you try not
Yeah.
to fall into the regret, but you also recognize it, right? Like, oh, I know I could have changed my life in this moment and I didn't. And now I have to live with that and make the best of it. And I think that's where like you said, pulling up the bootstraps. I think
Mhm.
obviously some people take that too far
Oh, for
these days
sure.
in a lot of cases because sometimes you just can't. But
Mhm.
in a way, there when you can, those are the times that you really have to latch onto those and tie the boots up so you can take that first step forward and then another foot
Exactly.
forward and then keep going.
Sometimes you just have to fake it till you make it too.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
so I was wondering, like, with what you were saying, you definitely does that mean you've mourned the life you expected? And are you living that life more of that life now that you expected today? Are you more in that place now, or are you still in a different place than you thought you would be? And are you still mourning that?
Yeah, I think I did for a long while. And I think that was why it was really hard for me. Like, I thought I was just burnt out from working in certain situations, for example, career wise, whether
Mhm.
working in medical and operations and people management and all these things. I just thought I was, God, am I just getting tired of people? Like, can I not do it
Yeah.
anymore? But in the end, it was no, like I was missing something and I was not letting myself have that thing that is mine specifically. Like creativity is really huge for me and be able to express. And I wasn't giving myself that time. And obviously, spend time with the kids. You go to work, you spend time with the kids, the family, the wife, and you give all this time, which is great. I don't mourn. I don't mourn doing that. I don't regret spending that time. But then when you fall into things, and I also don't regret video games, so nobody jump on me. I'm not dissing video games when I say this, but also there's like a limit. Like if that's all that you do and you let that be your trap and you let that be your escape, that can be. But then if you're not giving yourself something that you need, like I didn't set across time to be creative and to play video games, for example, or to do these enjoyable things. It was just one way because I wanted to escape the burnout because I didn't know where the burnout was coming from. I didn't know why I was angry at my own self and mourning myself and all these things.
Mhm.
So I think being able to really finally step across from that, and ironically, corporate decisions kind of crapping on the little guy in a way and closing out things, I think
Yeah.
made me maybe really be able to finally step back and realize, like, oh shit, no, I'm not really burnt out from working or working with people or that. I'm still in mourning because I'm not letting myself be reborn in a way, essentially,
Mhm.
that needs to happen. I'm not giving myself that grace. I'm not giving myself that space to say, oh, like I'm hurting. Like I've been hurting for a long time and I've been pretending that I'm not and all of these things. because it wasn't, I don't know, not even that it was like, oh, tough guy masculine or the toxic stuff. It was just more of just, once again, sometimes it's like, oh, I think I need to do this because people rely on me, or it's the right thing, or it's my duty, or whatever it is. And we do that until it breaks. And then,
Yeah.
nobody's better for
That
it.
that definitely resonates. I know that over the years you would send me writing that you would do every now and then, and I would definitely be so proud of how good it was, and I always thought the quality was there, and I just have always hoped for you to get your creative expressions out there, and I'm so proud that you're doing it now. And that you're taking the risk to do it all, and I think that's great. I know life circumstances probably led to that. Um, being, when are you gonna do it? If you have the opportunity now, maybe just grab it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's, yeah, especially the decision that Des and I made was like, hey, we're going to do this and do it right,
Mhm.
because it is important to me to create something and have it be mine and be out there. But most importantly, like telling stories is important to me. Like it's
Yes.
never, even doing like the actual plays and being on these other well, podcasts and doing these improv shows of people in these, tabletop games and things like that. Like it's all fun. And yes, I love that people, that it's popular and people love it and people join up, but really sharing a table with these people and telling a story and creating something together, sometimes with just total strangers that I've never met before. But the fact that we can sit there and tell this story and it makes sense, and we're just, all of these human connections and conditions exist in these moments and the stories that we're telling, even though we don't know each other in reality or our characters. I think it really kind of turned a light bulb on for me. And then talking with Des about really giving it a shot. And like you said, April, a teacher, we both had you, her, and friends that cared along the way have always kind of pushed that, like, hey, why aren't, like, this is great. I'm not just blowing smoke. Like, this is really good. Why don't you do something with this? And I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. That's great. Da, da, da. Maybe I should. And then I don't. So to actually finally do that, it's been this really crazy. Like, I feel like this is a change in the future to jump on that and
Mhm.
to actually do, for the first time this many years later, what 15-year-old Brian would have dreamed of. So it's definitely an experience that, hey, even if, I mean, but at the same time, if like two people listen or nobody listens or a bunch of people listen, like being able to share the experience and taking the chance to do something that I legitimately need and want to do for myself, I think has allowed me to be myself for the first time and find
Yeah.
Brian in that sense,
I think I can definitely see you as being a community builder. I think I've become a community builder.
without question.
Like, we've definitely used our experiences that have shaped us to start creating bigger things. And I can definitely relate to what you're saying about not knowing the people involved in the conversations and the community you're starting, because I see that in my comment section all the time. Whether it's me posting it because I'm nosy and thousands of people join in sharing their stories, or if I'm sharing my disability story or just making cracks about feminism or the society that we're living in today and just what we experience as, millennial and Gen X people. Um, I think that it's so important to have these communities, and I'm so proud that we're doing that and that other people are getting to experience the community with us. And I think it's huge.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something we've talked about before, before even this, and in conversation, and people that make choices and their decisions and presence on social media and what it means in those things.
Mhm.
And even us telling these stories kind of makes me think about Sartre from, kind of the philosophical standpoint and the things that he used to say.
Definitely a powerful existentialist. We're getting fancy here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was kind of more about him, believing who we are through our choices and not making, and whether or not, you make a choice, you decide not to make a choice or a decision, like that's still a choice.
Mhm.
Even when we're expressing ourselves, silence is a choice and it means something.
Yes.
And I think that goes a long way in the conversations we've had about like social media and our presence, like we were just bringing up, and building a community, and really having to stop and think about who we are, where we're coming from, where we have come from, who we are now, and the decisions we're making, and our purpose in it.
Yeah, because those
And
choices are definitely gonna shape us and what we're
yeah, well,
doing,
yeah,
and, like, are we our choices? Start your
I
thought
mean,
with
yeah,
words.
yeah. Well, that's the other side, right? Obviously, I mean, I think we get into, whether that's the only thing we are. No, I think that's a big part of us. Um, but getting into like what shapes us, right? Nature versus nurture, choice
Mhm.
versus circumstance, environment. Um,
Yes.
but like, I guess how much of that is choice?
How much do our choices lead us to
Yeah.
those places? Like, where does our responsibility start versus these are things that happen to us? Because we can
Mhm.
put a lot of blame on the universe. Oh my gosh, this horrible thing happened to me. I'm not going to take accountability for this. But like some things are just terrible and it's not your fault. And I'm not putting blame on anybody like that when something terrible happens to you that's inexplicable. We don't choose for people to die in our lives. We don't choose for traumas to happen to us. But I think probably choices we make lead to circumstances that we get ourselves into, but not everything. Like I didn't choose to become disabled. I
Mhm.
didn't I was born that way. And it's just gotten worse as I've gotten older. And it's taken away a lot of the life that I expected to live. And that definitely wasn't a choice. And, it's not a choice that I'm going through a disability review right now. And that they're denying my disability, saying that I'm no longer disabled, which was a shock to me. And I
Right.
think
Yeah.
everyone
Right.
that
Yeah.
knows me, um, that's stunning. I've been on disability since 2014. Like this isn't something new. I've gone through a review before, and it was fine. And now I'm having to appeal, and it's a crazy process. Is that my fault? Did I make choices that led to that? I have to disagree a little bit that that's not.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I didn't make these choices. I've,
Well, yeah, and
you
it's all,
know.
but like, and the other side is it the choices made in the sense that somebody else is out there making choices that then affect you? Absolutely. Like if you want
Oh,
to get broad,
yeah.
zoomed out on it, for sure. Is it, people that, and often, unfortunately, when I even get to insurance claims, like these people that are denying things and reviewing claims, like they don't have a medical degree. Like there's not a
No.
doctor there doing it. It's some
There's
person that's got a
AI
two,
doing it
they
now.
got like a, yeah, AI or a 2-week course, or somebody that took a 2-week
Mhm.
course that trains the AI to do it.
Yeah.
And then you make these decisions that affect people's lives and stop care and affect
Mhm.
doctors and
Kill people.
practitioners from doing it, yeah, from doing their job, and kill people. And but then people stop back like, oh, this doctor killed me. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, you know what? Maybe that is the case. Maybe it was their choice. But sometimes down the road, like these decisions of them having to make an alternate choice other
Mhm.
than what the care dictates or what they're
Is influenced
choosing
by
as a
other
provider.
things.
Yeah, it's this external force, just like, well, once again, like anything else, like we've talked about, like, um, because I think even getting down to the purely, even existentialism and philosophy, like it's not a choice to be born, for example,
Mhm.
but in a lot of times it is a choice to exist.
Yeah.
That's power that's put into us, and I think that um, a lot of
Eh,
times we get into this like parents blaming their children for their behaviors, and the struggles that they now have to go through. And I see so many parents these days, they're like, well, you're not respectful enough for everything that I've done for you, and I clothed you and all
yeah.
these things. And you're like, yeah, like you did the things that you're supposed to do. You shouldn't be expecting crap from them for doing basics, survival of this existence
I
after
definitely
you
don't expect that of my children.
yeah, no, like do I expect like them to be like respectful to those
Mhm.
that earn it,
Yes.
respectful to the house and the property that we own, and help around
Yes.
it, as they're, as far as cleaning themselves up in the room and not living in a dumpster. Yeah, like there's
But
certain
that's teaching
expectations
them
that are
good
very,
citizenship,
yeah,
you know?
Well, and just taking care of themselves, right? Like, so
Exactly.
because in some cases, illnesses are avoidable, but you never know when they're going to hit. Like,
Mhm.
when you are, but then again, if you're forced to live in those kind of conditions, like people that bring folks in and or children into the world, and then not prepared, or that preparation isn't even possible for them.
I
Like, even
wasn't
that's not
prepared.
even, yeah, even that's not necessarily a choice. Like, if you're in a situation where unfortunate things happen. Obviously, some
Mhm.
children are born out of situations like sexual assault or rape, and then
Mhm.
these children exist. It's not a decision, and they're still brought into the world. That wasn't necessarily the mother's choice of like, oh, this is not something I wanted to happen. But then down the road, like they're not prepared for it. Then they get shit on if they put the child up for adoption, or like all these things they try to do in the right way. Because nobody can really decide what's right. No, I don't know what's right for you. I don't know all of your situation and circumstances, or the person down the road, or the next person, or the person in the past. Like
Absolutely.
I don't know all those factors, so I'm never gonna totally speak to those because I understand how many external forces can affect choice and how many unseen forces can be affecting choice that you don't know how to adjust for.
I think we need to also be clear, though, that we can understand why something happened
Oh, for
without
sure.
excusing why it happened,
Exactly.
because people are still making choices here
Hmm.
about how they respond to things, how they react. Are those things influenced by our circumstances? Absolutely, our reactions are influenced by our circumstances. But as people, if someone does something wrong to you and you can be like, you could justify and figure out the reason why they did that and fundamentally know why, but that doesn't mean you have to excuse them for doing it. And I
Hmm.
think that's an important distinction to make because a lot of us get trapped up in we start intellectualizing why things happen the way they did or why someone did something to us and then we excuse that behavior instead of holding someone accountable or moving on and distancing ourselves from that person and realizing we don't need that influence in our life anymore. We can accept that that was the reason why it happened, but we don't have to accept the actions.
Oh, 1000%. Like, I won't even give that 100. That's 1,000% correct. Especially even like even thinking about myself and, finally getting into like therapy down the road and taking it seriously and all these things. And like even going through it, like I was taking it seriously, but also still just, being the wise ass that I always have to be, like still kind of letting the humor be the guard until
Yeah.
like I couldn't anymore. And then it was like very real, and someone that it's still a stranger, but a therapist, trained
Mhm.
professional is very like, okay, like I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to give you like the science behind it. I'm going to give you all this stuff. And basically I'm going to make it irrefutable. And then if you still want to refute it, then you don't want to heal yet. Like that's basically
That's
how it's
good for
kind of
them for saying
gone,
that to
which
you.
I was very like and for me, that was like what I needed to hear. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's what I needed. And, to take some of the trauma tests and all of these things and really be like I can now say that at this point in my life and the age we're at, like when it comes to forgiveness, like obviously I think forgiveness is a thing you can seek, but it has to be, someone has to give that and grant it. It's not something you just take, obviously. And obviously forgiving myself for decisions and choosing a side and which one of my parents was better when I was younger, blah, 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 all of these things. But until I step back and then one of them chose to do something about it, like they made
Yeah.
choices to grow and be better and to step forward and to, even if I pushed back, was still like, yeah, I deserve that. And then be there and be present even for my children and continue that, and has not stopped because now it's one of those things where trust is earned every day.
Mhm.
Like there's like it's not even a deficit situation. I don't try to be like, oh, I have a grief and trauma deficit that you have to overcome. Like there's not
No.
like a bank, there's not a bank account
No, for
of
sure.
trauma. But
No, wouldn't that be interesting though if we had
I
a
know, right?
the
Like, oh,
bank
it's
of trauma?
we're getting there. The ledger's heading towards the
Making
black.
a withdrawal.
Yeah, right. But seeing that, being able to see that at the same time, like one choosing to just remain the same, like avoidant and cognizant of the issues
Mhm.
and the faults and just kind of keep glossing them over a person, and another one like actively changing who they are, and then looking at their life and saying like, you deserve to be pissed off. You didn't handle it right. you took it into life in the wrong ways.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, some of it ended up being taken out on me in ways that it shouldn't, and created kind of kept
Yeah.
the cycle going. But then a choice was made at some point to take that and not be that anymore. Like my father's
Absolutely.
father isn't going to be an effect in my life anymore. Then my
Agree.
father chose to stop that from being an effect in my, those types of things. But that's where a choice is super important, as there's still going to be things that get in the way. Is there going to be pitfalls that kind of knock us down? And I mean, everything that's just going on in life, and all, all the thousand things that you have to do to make that happen. Can things go wrong? Are we going to slip up? Am I going to be irritated about something because something just clicks? And I'm like,
Yeah.
you used to say that to me in a way, and but now we're in a position where I can be like, hey, hmm, like I'm really pissed off right now, but I'm going to tell you why. And it's
Yeah.
because, when I was a kid, you used to do this crap, and it really still apparently still sits with me, and we can have that conversation. And I think
Yeah.
that's so beyond important that people forget to just stop and have the conversation.
Well, I think having the emotional intelligence to have those conversations is something that we have to work to it's learned. Emotional
Oh, for
intelligence
sure.
is learned. And I don't think people don't just run around having the highest IQs naturally. We have to learn to communicate and be good communicators. And I think therapy definitely plays a big role in that, has for me, in learning how to communicate better and evaluate, the choices I make in my life and handling the traumas that I've been through and holding myself accountable for healing from those traumas instead of projecting out on everybody else the wounds that have affected me. Because I think for years I let my wounds bleed on other people, and
Hmm.
that was wrong. And it affected my kids, it affected my family, it affected my marriages and relationships. And I think I've definitely done a lot of work to learn and grow and communicate better. And I think in the relationship I'm in now, we definitely have really good communication, and I couldn't be happier for that. I mean, it's so important, and I wouldn't settle for anything less now. And I've learned that I deserve to have good communication in the relationships in my life, and that it benefits me to be a good communicator.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's, I mean, and it's funny tying into social media. Like I see, which I don't think a lot of people take the time to reflect before they post things sometimes. But like even in that, like before I post something, like that's another learn. Like I take it as like each post almost as a learning, unless it's something just silly goofball stuff for like
Yeah.
creative and putting out like Wrestle Deep or something like that, the show that I'm doing. When I'm posting about something or replying to somebody, like they're so easy to just jump to that anger.
Mhm.
And I think when I'm going to post to something, that reactionary nature that I have been, like I have been very reactionary in my life and taking like
Mhm.
offense to stuff that I absolutely should not have, because
Oh, me
like
too.
I could say that, hey, like my dad's my wife, okay, we're over 10 years now.
Yeah.
And
Good for
I
you
thank her.
guys.
Thank you. I thank her every day for like seeing that part in me, because there's times where I think some people do stick around in situations that are like the other person's not trying, and they keep
Mhm.
on, I want to fix them type of thing. And it's a very dangerous thing to be in.
I see
And
it all the time. I've been in those
yeah.
relationships myself.
And, I am thankful for myself to being not stupid enough to want to be better, or to not
Mhm.
want to be better. So made the decision to be, and to grow and to take on these things, and, her to be by my side and to help me with them, and to help us both grow
Mhm.
and find safe places that we could be, and grow together and become what we are now. Which it does take a lot of work and a lot of time even now to step back from some things, because yeah,
Mhm.
there can be things that someone says that you love very much, that says something, and what triggers you isn't even them saying it. It's
No, it's
that
something deeper.
it's a deeper reminder of something that happened, and that trauma trigger comes up, and you're like, I have no idea why I'm so angry right now. Like,
Yeah.
and being able to step back from that and be like, this conversation needs to wait, because I am super angry, but I don't think that I'm angry at you. And
Yeah.
even if I am, we should probably step back, because
Because we need to
like
talk, not yell.
it's that your brain is not going to function properly at that level. Like it physically can't. There's just too much other things going on in that response. So that's the biggest thing for me, because she's like the sweetest, kindest thing since ever. So you know, driving me to be better, pushing me into those things. And it was weird for a little bit because
Mhm.
I'll be honest, like going in and finding therapy in me and it becoming about future choices. When we got through the trauma and
Mhm.
discussing those things, then we got into the healing process. And the therapist, she was very much like, "This is actually where it gets bumpy, just for the record."
It
And I'm
does,
like,
for
"What do you
sure.
mean?" Like, because that sucks. So what do you mean? This has all been very bumpy. She's like, "No, like this is because she's like, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to like, we're essentially using the phrase unmasking. You're going to take that off.
Mhm.
You're going to see life differently. You're going to go to
Yeah.
work and all these people that you've been so like overly kind and, or maybe even nice to instead of just kind,
Mhm.
that's going to wear down. You're going to be like, why am I giving you that energy? You're not earning it.
Well, learning boundaries for
Yeah. And
sure.
setting this
Yeah.
exactly.
And setting them and holding them. I mean, some people are definitely going to think that you're like harming them with your boundaries because you never had them
Hmm.
before. And
Exactly.
so, and taking that mask off is huge. And I think I definitely, with being coming to terms and learning and getting diagnosed as an adult with autism,
Hmm.
I masked my whole life to get through social situations and school and work and just everything. And that took some therapy and time to unlearn the masking. And I think sometimes I still catch myself masking as much as I try to be authentic these days. Um, it comes through and you have that identity crisis almost of like, who am I? Because I've been all these different masks and I thought that was me. And now I'm realizing that I've been being who I thought other people wanted me to be to get by, to survive whatever it was that I was going through or interacting with and not having those boundaries. And I think that's been definitely a powerful playing force in my healing and growth as an autistic woman, and, it affects just everything.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think even I think getting an accurate diagnosis even levels the playing field so much when not only when you get it, but then accept it and
Mhm.
decide that it can be a tool now. It can be a path to bettering yourself.
But I
Like
also
obviously some
grieved being autistic.
absolutely.
The
Yeah, I'm not
diagnosis. And I think a
yeah,
lot of
well,
diagnoses are like that for everybody. Sorry to interrupt you there, Brian,
no.
but,
No,
like,
no, no.
that's something that's definitely a big thing for me. I talk a lot about this on social media is the grief of what it's like to get diagnosed. Because everyone's like, "Well, aren't you relieved that you got a diagnosis?" Yes. Yes, I
In a
am
way, yeah.
relieved, but I'm also devastated because I
Mhm.
don't want this to be happening to me. I don't want this diagnosis. I wanted answers. I've spent years trying to get answers, and so many people spend years trying to get answers about their health or their whether they're neurodivergent or, countless things. And we want the answer, but when we finally have the answer, we have to sit with that and be like, what does this mean? Because, yeah, you might have always had that diagnosis, but having it finally be real to you and told to you, this is what this is. You really have an answer now. Now, what are you going to
Mhm.
do with that? You're going to have grief.
Well, that's
You're gonna have relief and grief.
and I think that takes us back to mourning, like even back beyond choice and well, it
Mhm.
includes choice, but the
It
mourning of
includes
it, I think,
choice.
came from me is that getting that and being like, even on the ADHD, like hyposensitivity side of it, like I have no idea. Like, what I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, there's
Mhm.
even like levels to that. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Which is basically then obviously the idea of like self-destructive nature. Like, I'm not deserving. I need to tear this down because I don't
Yes.
deserve to have this. These good things are bad for me because I am garbage. Like, but then having this name for it and having the diagnosis, like
Mhm.
like you just said, like it was that moment was heartbreaking because of and it's like that's why I say imagination's a double-edged sword because
Yeah.
then like all these memories that I have all the way back to even beyond 15, like
Mhm.
standing in on a soccer field and some shit that I said to a person that I won't say their name, but a person that we both know and the approach that I took, or later in life
Yeah.
how I took something that a friend said, or
Mhm.
how I put on a friend that we both know that that dealt with cancer, and how much of that, like even as a kid, I put that on myself and like wanted to take care of them and like use it as
Oh,
an
I did
excuse to stop
too.
taking care of myself, like
Right.
and yeah, and then relationship that I've had. once again with people that we both know, and just how shitty I was because I didn't want to ruin it, but I felt that I had to ruin it because it was too good for me. I wasn't good enough. And that's
Oh,
like I said, once
I can
again, not
resonate
an
with that for sure.
excuse. Like I'm not excusing that behavior. I was
No.
a shit person in a lot of ways. I'm
Oh,
not
me
going to take
too.
that from myself.
I think I have been
Um,
too.
and I'm thankful I never fell far. I've never put my hands on anyone. I've never forced
Mhm.
situations that they didn't, want to be in physically or any of that terrible, terrible shit. But that doesn't take away, like, purposely trying to make someone feel like shit so that they're mad at you. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. There's still
Yeah.
stupid things that that I've done that didn't resonate with me. Like I always like had regret maybe. Like I always look
Mhm.
back and like I wish I hadn't done that when I'm clear
Yeah.
headed. But then literally stepping away from myself, whether
Yeah.
the ego stepped away for whatever we want to call it on the
Mhm.
different philosophical psychological terms, but getting the diagnosis let me step away and look back at my lens, like my actual
Mhm.
self lens for the first time. And it was heartbreaking. And I'm not saying that like anger didn't get to me after that and there wasn't different things, because there's these traps that you fall into
Well, sure,
while
we're
healing.
human,
Yeah.
and healing's messy.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest thing that I always want to push towards people is like once you start healing, like sometimes it is harder for a
Mhm.
good while.
I think it is
And
harder.
yeah, yeah, I would say like I would say I only say that because I don't know. I try not to. That's one thing I actively choose to try to do is I overdo is not speaking for others, but in a way, like I think it always is harder for like there's just a moment, like I said, where you can't be who you were. And maybe you've been doing it for 30, 20, 30, 40, 50
40,
years.
50
Like, yeah,
years,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, maybe you've gotten to a point where you're thinking about end of life stuff and now you have no choice, but you look back on all these things. And I really mourn for those people too, because that's a long time to look back. And
Mhm.
obviously, we have a lifespan. There does
We
come a
do.
certain point where it does end. And that's unfortunately not just existential, that's just physical, biological, and very real. And we
Mhm.
don't know when it comes, or when it is, or tomorrow, or 10 years, whatever it is down the
Well, for
road. So,
sure. I think I've definitely been told, I definitely struggled with my mental health for several
mhm,
years, for a long, long time. You know that I mean, since we were
yeah.
young. And then, I went through a lot with that. And, I think having autism and not knowing definitely made that worse and made me get into worse situations with my mental health. But learning to heal, um, I had people tell me, you're not gonna make it to 25, you're not gonna make it to
Mhm,
30, you're not gonna make it to 35. If you do, it's gonna be a miracle. Doctors were telling me this. They're like, "There's no hope for you. You're never gonna recover. You're gonna be depressed forever. You're gonna be mentally ill
yeah.
forever." And that was taking away aside from my physical disabilities that were being completely ignored at that point because, oh, you're just mentally ill. You're not, you couldn't,
Mhm,
your physical illnesses are all just a byproduct of that. And now we're coming to terms. Now I know I'm autistic. I've gone through extensive therapy. And I think I've learned to love myself finally. And that's made me make more better choices about what I do for myself now than I ever did when I didn't love myself and when I was in the pits of despair and I hadn't healed and I was bleeding everywhere. And, it's definitely, I don't know, just, it's big.
yeah. Well, and it is, and it's even individually, it's almost too much for one person to take on. That's why, like, I don't have very large friend groups. I have a lot of associates, but friends, friends I can
Hmm.
count on, maybe one hand. But having those groups where people you can reach out to, or just a therapist that really works for you and a trust is so big, because
So big.
I think a lot of times we forget, like, even if you're a person that is super empathetic and loving towards others, That's great. Please continue to do that.
Yes, please
Turn
do.
that turn that empathy towards yourself and your younger self and your future
Yes.
self.
Forgive
And
yourself.
yeah, and really step back and realize that yeah, there are things that you've done that you wish you hadn't. Maybe they were bad in, and maybe you're all to the point that you're a villain in somebody's story. Like that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, there we can atone and we can try to, make things right and all of these things. And yeah, and there's certain situations where you need to do that. Like you need to make it better because you really affected and made a direct choice to hurt somebody. Like there's things you can do to take those steps, and probably should, but you also at some point aren't going to get better if you just hang on to those negative things. And
No. And
I
that
will
makes
also
me
say that,
I'm sorry, Brian.
no, you're good. I was just going to say that there are some decisions in life that there's no coming back from, unfortunately, but those are
That's
like those
true.
extremes that
Yes.
let's not do those. Yeah.
And and that leads me to say, what parts of your life weren't choices, Brian? Like, what traits did life just hand to you? And what do you wish people understood about that?
Yeah, I think in a large part of my life, I think that the people that did understand it without me even understanding it, were the most helpful. I think that the traits of, um, I think the anger and the frustration and the reactionariness that I've had, and even the behaviors of, you know, not believing that I'm good enough to have the happiness or the good things,
Mhm.
even if I've earned them or
I
I've
can
put work
resonate
into
with
them.
that.
I think those were traits that were given to me. I don't like there was never a point where I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be hurt by this." Like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm going to be an angry boy." Like I never once stopped to make that choice. But and I also say that while understanding that like choosing to let anger take over and win
How many of our choices
it's
are
like yeah.
subconscious?
Yeah, but that buildup of the having to fight that was not a choice. Like I didn't make the choice to have to fight anger when something happens. I didn't make the choice to fight depression Tuesday through Thursday and not want to get out of bed without even knowing why and having to fight to understand why to then hope that I can overcome it.
I agree.
I didn't, choose to be a flinchy person for a long time in my life, thinking I'm gonna get smacked upside the head or
Mhm.
that a shout was gonna do it. And then that I had to shout back because that was passion.
Yeah.
Like that meant that me getting loud meant that I was passionate about the conversation. No, you're just being an angry dick. Like that's very unfortunate. Like that's so those are traits I think that I definitely unfortunately made me part of who I was. And while the fight was mine, I didn't choose the fight, but at a certain point, you have to if you want to grow and to get better, you have to take responsibility for the fight because
Mhm.
once it's been given, like there's no you can't just drop it. I wish we could, but it's
Yeah.
not just like a magic wand, you know what I mean?
No.
But I guess I'd
Yeah.
reverse that to you. Like what and obviously once again the disabilities, the chronic illnesses that I do have, like occasionally bleeding internally is never fun. Like
No.
it's not a good time. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
let this happen tomorrow. Like
We don't
those
choose that.
yeah, like those types of things are definitely also given that you have to make choices around, and there is sometimes the choice to I'm gonna let this get me down, or it is gonna defeat me today, or I'm just gonna not let it defeat me, but I'm not gonna move much because this is a rest
Mhm.
day. Like those are also like sometimes those are positive choices as well. Like giving yourself some
Mhm.
grace that you're dealing with it is okay. Like that's a positive choice, even though you're in a negative situation.
Absolutely. Do you think, any of that disagrees with what Sartre said about, everything, all of it life being choices and what we've come to believe? Like, do you think that he was right? Do you think he's just partially right? What are your thoughts on that?
I think he was right in the sense of, I think he did what he wanted to do as far as bringing up the conversation, right? Because I think when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, like unfortunately, we do have to choose to get better. Like
Mhm.
it's not something that'll just happen to us. And like the trauma can just happen to us. The issues that build up, the illnesses, all of these things are things that sometimes just happen to us. Yes, there's a cause. You get into it, biology, you get into illness, you get into diseases, all these things, or people treating us a certain way and making external choices from our own. But we also are affected by our own choices, how we react to those things.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of the essence of what I've gotten from Sartre is that when you decide to sit in silence, you're still saying something. When you decide to not make a choice, I think also Rush said this. Even if you choose not to decide, you have still made a choice. Like these are actions that we're still taking. And I think
I think
that's
it
why
yeah. I think it comes down to would you be you if none of those hard things happened?
yeah. I mean, would I be the me I am today? No. Would I still it's obviously there's the whole,
Would
you're
you
gonna get me
wanna
into
be?
Uh, I don't know. I think that's funny. That's actually something I've asked myself a lot of times. And I actually asked,
I
I
ask
did this.
myself that a lot
Yeah,
too.
I did a weird, like, oh, maybe philosophical for my son thing a little while ago where I was like the ship of Theseus, for example, of like, hey,
Okay.
if you take all the planks away and you have a new ship, but you call it the ship of Theseus, but then you took all the parts that you took away and build that ship again over here, which
Which
one is it? Or are they both? Because I think in a
yeah,
way,
that's a
yes.
good analogy. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, I think in a way, they both are because the
Yes.
spirit of being reborn into what you want to be and rebuilding yourself is still you. But that old ship is still you too. And you can remember that. And you cannot sail on that. You cannot sail on that ship anymore. You can let it sit at dock and you can just let it kind of be almost essentially a trophy in a sense of overcoming all of that and being what the ship that you want to be
Mhm.
because the ocean's not going to get, any calmer, unfortunately, on the outside. So,
I think who we are at our core maybe stays. Like you definitely have traits that are nature, nurture, that resonate and stay with you your whole life. Your character, well, not
mhm,
necessarily. Your character could change. People can change. I've changed. You've changed. But I think when we look back to how long we've been friends, we have to realize, we didn't choose to be friends with a shitty person. We were
mhm.
friends because we saw good things in each other, and I think those things have remained true to this day, and we're still somewhat those people, but we've definitely evolved into much more evolved people as we reached our mid-30s.
No, absolutely. And I see that in if well, it's super funny, even like finding you online again was still the funniest thing to
Yes.
me because
I
obviously
can't believe that happened.
we changed phones or whatever, lost kind of contact as far as that goes for reasons or
Been a
another. And
couple
then,
years. You went off social
yeah,
media, I think, because we'd always stayed in touch through social
hmm
media, and we've stayed in good touch over all the years and stayed good friends. But I think when we lost touch for those 2 years, when you decided to step away from social media and we didn't have other contact with each other for that while, definitely coming back into each other's lives the way we did was unexpected. Um
what's friggin' threads, yeah.
Threads, for sure. Like, I think I posted a selfie one day of me in a mask at my
hmm
infusion appointment,
Yep.
and you recognized me.
I did, yeah. I just happened to be scrolling through, and I said because I'd read your post for a little while. I think I'd actually been following you for a good while, like towards
Yeah.
the start of me getting back into threads and building the
Mhm.
Instagram for creative disarray and doing kind of the nerdy
Yeah.
stuff and putting out like voiceovers and all that jazz. And then getting into the TTRPG actual plays. Then I kind
Mhm.
of jumped over to threads because that's where people were actually having the
Mhm.
conversations and
Yes.
meeting that community. But then that community is so expansive, like so many others, that there's so much empathy and growth there and all these things happening that it wasn't, at least threads at that time got the algorithm right and reconnected. So I was just traveling through and I just happened to scroll through it, I saw it, and I was like, oh, having a, whether it was a good day or not, like, oh, that's a, nice picture, having was it a infusion? I can't remember what it was
Yeah, it
that you
was
were
my
doing. Yeah.
infusion.
I was like, well, that sucks, but hey, there's some positivity about it. They're posting in their experience. That's awesome. And I scrolled by and I was like, wait a minute. What? Hang on. No, 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 no. That's not right. I literally scrolled it back down on my phone and looked like eye to eye with your
Yeah.
picture, like the eyes that I've seen before. And I was like, holy shit, that's Wendy. That's great. There's no way. So I had no choice but to obviously reach out to you. I don't really jump into DMs at all, but I was like, I can't not see if I'm right and
I'm
not think
so
that I'm
glad you
crazy.
did. I mean, I'm not always the biggest fan of people jumping in my DMs,
Yeah.
but, um, yeah, made me so happy, and we've reconnected, and here we are today, and I can't be more grateful that the algorithm brought us together,
Oh, absolutely.
again. So, I think it's just so interesting how our paths have intertwined over the years and who we've become as people and the choices we've made along the way, and, you know, I think it just transfers to what we've been talking about this whole time on this episode about, you know, who would you be if nothing bad ever happened to you?
Yeah. And I mean, it's and it's one of those things for sure that I think like there's levels of stress, right, that are good for us that help us grow and teach us some resolve. And I think as human beings and animals, like you need that to survive.
Mhm.
Do I think there's limits to that and things that should not happen to people? Yes. For parents, do I think that they should put children through things? No. You should help teach your kid when things happen to them because they're
Yes,
going to happen. I think
for
that's just a
sure.
much better approach from my perspective. And it brings back that choice, but it helps you create that environment that they can absolutely grow in and be foster whatever they're going to be. Because
Mhm.
I will be honest, there's also times when parents try their hardest and give a great place and it's a great one loving house and all these things that people also sometimes come out the other side what they're going to be. And
Yeah.
it is maybe a mental illness from birth. It is this thing where people have become, I mean, serial killers, to be honest with you, and from
Yeah,
good homes. Like
from
it's
good
to take it to
homes.
the extreme.
Yeah.
So it's not like don't always like punish yourself less, but maybe reflect, maybe reflect more on if that takes you to a better place. And I think if it does, maybe look into it and take that action and make that choice. Otherwise, I mean, the universe puts enough on us as it is and external forces that I think we can maybe rely more on what makes us better and makes us happier individually without kind of hoping the universe push down on anybody else.
So maybe we don't choose what shapes us, we choose what we build with it.
Exactly. I think we build what we do with the tools that we're given.
For sure. I think we're a product of 1,000 things we never asked for and a handful of choices that mattered more than we realized. What do you think about that, Brian?
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. Um, Yeah, and I think it really encapsulates what I said. Like, especially when you go back with a new lens, you're going to look back at those choices and realize how much they mattered. And I think that's part of the healing as well. But in the moment, sometimes we don't realize that nothing is trivial and really everything can matter.
I think that's a good place to bookmark what we've been talking about. I think, everyone on Threads knows I'm nosy. So I have a question I'll leave all of us on a note with. But because I'm nosy, what's one thing about who you became that younger you would never believe?
Mm. I mean, to me, that's a really good one to leave everyone with for sure. I hope people take time to think about that and answer it for sure. And if you did enjoy hanging out with us on the couch today, make sure you follow the show so you don't miss us next week and all of our conversations in the future. If this episode made you think of someone else or that someone needs to hear it, please send it to them. With that, we're going to log off, get off the couch for a little bit, and call it a day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.